What's going on, everybody? Respawn Gentleman here. So now we all know and are definitely disappointed about the DLC being pushed back to November 10th. But one of the things Techland did mention whenever they made that post to everybody is that they are doing a Q&A kind of, here's all your questions answered kind of thing. And those actually happened today as we're recording this video. So let's dive right in and see all of the burning questions and answers that we've been waiting for. All right, so starting off right off the bat, they got a heavy hitter question that says, will a legend level be added to Dying Light 2? So Tymon answered this by saying, that is definitely the plan, as we believe legend levels will be a great addition to the current chapter's formula and game overall. So that confirms it. We're getting legend levels. We don't know exactly when that's going to happen or what they're exactly going to look like, but it's going to be related to the chapters. So that's all the information we know right now. Maybe they'll introduce it with chapter 3. Maybe they'll introduce it in an update to chapter 2. Who knows? We don't know where that's going to go, but we've got it confirmed right now. Legend levels will 100% be in the game. So the next question on here is, it says, are there any plans to rework the safe houses or the fisheye canteen? The fisheye doesn't really serve much of a purpose after finishing the game, which honestly is true. So this is what Tymon said. He said, I feel exactly the same, and I'd like to see both the fisheye canteen and the PK ship Missy populated with more people and stories. These hubs would be a great place for the next chapter agents, additional activities, or maybe some more Villador stories. There's a long list of quality of life improvements as part of our 5-year post-launch support plan, and I'm sure we'll get back to these locations. So some sort of update might be happening. We might see them more populated, which would be kind of good, but also I'm hoping it's more populated with things to do, like you mentioned, some activities, more agents, things like that. So that'd be kind of nice. We'll have to kind of wait and see for more information on that. So the next big question on here is, do we get some extension for the current map, like a new district? And Tymon said, of course, Bloody Ties brings a new location, the Carnage Hall, and its surroundings, a place the player travels to from the city of Villador, which I know a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be in Elysium. I don't know, from the wording that I've been seeing, it seems like you're not going to be inside Villador, which technically Elysium is inside Villador. So I think what they're doing is kind of what they mentioned during an interview that Tymon did months ago, is they're taking aspects of Elysium and putting them in there. So this may have been originally a location in Elysium, but it may not actually be there itself. It's going to be this whole brand new self-contained area that you can access. But I have obviously no more information than that, but I'm really interested to see all about the new location and kind of all that stuff. So this is probably one of the biggest questions people have been asking since day one, is will guns be added to the game? Now, Tymon said, we understand that this one is one of the top 3 requests from our community, and we have stated many times we want Dying Light franchise's development to follow our great players' expectations. There's nothing more I can say at this point, as I don't want to jump the gun, pun intended. So to me, what that means is that I think we will get them eventually, but that's not something that's going to be added into the game right now. The fact that he kind of dodged the question a little bit and didn't really answer it tells me that, yeah, we're getting it. Because if it's not going to be in the game, he would have just said no, in my opinion. So I think we're going to get it. I honestly don't think we're going to see it until 2024. The reason for that is because if you played the game, there's a mission you can go on. It's like a history lesson. I can't remember the exact name of it. But during that mission, you find out that the March Massacre occurred, where basically the last battle with all the guns and a whole bunch of people died and stuff like that happened in March of 2024. Guess what happens in 2 years? It becomes 2024. So if they're planning on guns, there's a good chance that they could be released in March of 2024. That's just my speculation, though. That would make the most sense to kind of line it up with timing in the game. I think that would be really funny on their part personally, but we'll have to wait and see. We have no confirmed information of whether or not it's going to be added at this time. So the next question says, is it going to be a big arena and difficult to defeat? So obviously they're referring to the DLC. Tymon said that as a location, the Carnage Hall is a rather big place. There's the main building with arenas inside and a nice park around it, which holds some of the DLC's additional side quests. The arenas themselves are big enough to allow us to combine parkour, traversal, and combat, with huge amounts of infected in the events that occur over the course of the DLC. As for the difficulty, we are still balancing the DLC. We hope to make it easy enough for everyone to experience the full story of Aiden and his friend Zero, but to uncover everything the Carnage Hall has to offer, players will really have to stand up for a bigger challenge. So they're again, they're just kind of tweaking that for how difficult it's going to be. I do like one thing he said in here is the huge amounts of infected. That is amazing, because that was one thing I know a lot of people were concerned about whenever they finally released the reveal trailer for the Bloody Ties DLC. They were thinking, oh, this is just going to be, you know, a bunch of human enemies. I don't want to fight human enemies. I want to fight zombies. That's why I'm playing a zombie game. So the fact that he said huge amounts of infected means that we're still going to be fighting a ton of infected as well as humans. So I like that. That's very good, because I definitely want to fight more zombies than I do humans. So the next question is, will you add more color filters to the game? Tymon said that the system is flexible enough to allow that, and we already have some cool ideas. Let us know if you have any visual filters you'd like to see in the game. By the way, I must say that I personally and the whole team were amazed by the quality of the art created in our community using the photo mode, which I've seen some absolutely ridiculous photos. I'm just like, how in the world did you capture that? It's amazing stuff for sure. We definitely need more filters in the game. Whenever they added the kind of E3 dark and gritty, that weren't quite exactly what the E3 was, but closer. They were nice, but it's not great, to be completely honest, in my opinion. I still find myself just using the normal color scheme. Anyway, so, you know, I really hope they add some more to kind of make it more customizable for everybody. So another really big question is, will we get a PvP mode, and will it somehow be related to Bloody Ties? Now, Tymon said that Bloody Ties will support single player and online co-op modes. However, we believe that we can offer so much more with the arena format. It all depends on how you guys will respond to it. I can imagine more and more events and modes being added to the Carnage Hall at a later date. So he's not saying no, we're not getting that. He's basically saying kind of not right now. So it looks like initially on release, Bloody Ties is not going to have any kind of PvP. But since it is an arena mode setup, you could easily do kind of a better version of the Bad Blood Battle Royale type thing they did in the first Dying Light, and make it more of a kind of self-contained, you know, you're inside this room, a giant room with, like, you know, maybe 10 or 20 people, and you're all duking it out, stuff like that. Who knows? There's no way of telling what they could do, but that's one possibility they could do. But it looks like they have plans to potentially add some PvP to the Carnage Hall at some point. The next question says, will we get developer tools to let the community shape the game as they like? And what Tymon said was, we're actively working on adding developer tools to the PC version of the game, as well as looking for ways to deliver mods created on PC to console players. I think that Dying Light 1 is a great reference to what is possible, but again, I don't want to say anything too early, but when we're ready, we'll hear all about it. So that means that they are going to be working on basically mod support for the game, which is absolutely huge. I know tons of people have been asking about this, and honestly, regardless of what you think of Bethesda games and the buggy messes they are, even though they are amazingly fun, they're one of the only developers who can get away with games being unbelievably buggy and just still being an absolute blast to play. But they could easily kind of take from what Bethesda did with Fallout 4, with Skyrim Special Edition, and have that just kind of natively in the game, because that was a really, really cool thing that they did. So maybe they should just go talk to Bethesda and say, hey, how'd you guys do that? Because we want to do it too. I think that would be the best way for them to go about it, because then it would allow, like they said, consoles to also have mods properly, not through jailbroken PlayStations, you know who you are, and getting mods that way. Next question on here, I know a lot of people have been asking about this. It says, will you add X-ray vision when hitting enemies in Dying Light 2? Which, if you're not sure, that happened a lot in Dying Light 1. It was a really cool feature. Tymon said this, is we already have it working in the game. We want to introduce it with the Bloody Ties DLC or right after it. So they have tested it. Apparently that they know it works. It's good to go. They just haven't implemented into the full game for everyone yet. So we'll either see that, like you said, in the Bloody Ties DLC in November, or right after that in the next update, we'll get it after that. So very soon, by the end of the year, most likely, we will get X-ray vision when we hit enemies. Now, this is another one that's been heavily requested. The question is, like, when can we expect new difficulties, and will they be hard? I found hard mode to be too easy in Dying Light 2. So what Tymon said, it says, hey, try the New Game Plus mode as it not only increases the difficulty by tweaking simple parameters, but also changes the overall experience. We understand that this is something that a part of our community requests. We just want to make sure that we'll do it right. It's not trivial, as the current hard settings are very similar to what we had in the first game, Dying Light 1, and yet you still feel it's not demanding enough. A lot of the elements of the game contribute to that feeling. The more open geometry of the Dying Light 2 map, so we really need to work on finding the best solution. So they're planning to add new difficulty modes to make the game more difficult for those people who really just want to make it hard for themselves. We still don't know what that's going to look like, so the best thing anybody can do is just let Techland know, say, hey, this is what we need to make it more difficult. Whether that's actually roaming volatiles and not just volatiles just kind of placed around the map, or maybe, you know, making it to where enemies do like 500 times damage or something. I don't know. There's a number of ways you can actually do to increase the difficulty of the game, but we'll have to wait and see. So this is another one I know people have been asking me a lot personally, and I kind of want this too, but it says, can you change it so we don't have to use hunter tokens to buy ammo for the bow and crossbow, please? So Tymon said that we haven't decided to do so yet. We are monitoring player data and community feedback. We just need to be wary not to destroy the economy and balance of the game. So basically, the reason why the hunter's crossbow and the ballista crossbow, according to what he's saying right there, the reason why you have to purchase them or get them from as a reward from completing the regular mission is so the game is balanced. They make it to where you have to kind of work for it. Of course, you could also just duplicate the arrows and kind of bypass that whole thing, but they don't. I think they're basically saying we don't want you to be able to just craft them because it's going to make the game completely broken, especially with the ballista bow being able to one-shot just about every single enemy in the whole game. So they're working on balancing things for that. So I'm hoping we get a blueprint. I would love to have blueprints for it. Maybe make the requirements something kind of high to make it more difficult to craft, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but I really do hope they add blueprints for the new arrows and the new crossbow bolts. So the next question on here says, is there going to be an updated roadmap for new content coming after Bloody Ties? So Tymon answered that saying, we have a lot of plans regarding the short, mid, and long-term future of Dying Light 2, but we want to be flexible and follow the community's voice. You will learn more about these plans after the release of Bloody Ties. So to me, I don't think they should do roadmaps the way they've been doing them, because so far every single roadmap they've put out has been false. Well, technically. So here's the thing. They never, on the roadmap itself, it never actually stated when the DLC was going to be released. It just said from September to November is sometime in that time frame is when the DLC is going to be released. So technically on the roadmap, they're not wrong, but at the same time, they've given us wrong dates before, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. I think they should kind of do that. If they're going to keep doing roadmaps, make it more vague, like, hey, sometime in this section of a period, you're going to get this update. It's not going to necessarily be during that first month. It's not necessarily going to be during the last month either. Just kind of keeping it more vague so nobody gets their hopes up for things happening immediately. The next question on here says, will there be new skills to Dying Light 2 in the future? So Tymon said the skill tree is already packed, so perhaps not in the way of adding new skills to the skill tree, but character abilities that will be developed and progressed with the upcoming updates. So that tells me that we're probably not going to get a skill tree, but the abilities are probably going to be something similar to the legend levels that I talked about at the beginning of the video. So it's probably going to be something along those lines. Next one on here says, will you ever make an improvement to photo mode? Tymon said, of course, please share your feedback with us. Dying Light 2 is a project that keeps on growing and will continue to grow for the next 5 years. So I've mentioned this a few times myself. Photo mode, we definitely need a day and night filter, so we can change it to day and night. You can change it to any time of the day, and also a weather filter, being able to change the kind of weather that you're in. I think those two things alone would be absolutely amazing for photo mode, because then you can pop it open anytime you want, and there you go. Now this next one, personally for me, is really big because I use the elevator a lot, but it says, will you please reduce the time for the VNC tower elevator to work? Now Tymon said, that's an interesting one, and I don't have an on-the-spot answer. Let me note it down and investigate. So yeah, if you're not familiar, the VNC tower elevator takes forever to go. If you're trying to go to the top, and you're all the way at the bottom, it takes like a good what feels like 5 minutes before it reaches you, and then you get in the elevator and it takes the same amount of time to get to the top. I don't know why it takes so much time. It shouldn't, because I don't know, but I really hope they do fix that. So this is a massive one, and I mentioned I was going to talk about this before. It says, why do you give us release dates when you aren't 100% sure it's going to be ready by then? So Tymon said, thanks for a great question. I'd like to take the opportunity to address this. Since the release of Dying Light 2, the team has been working hard to prove our players with fixes, features, and updates, and will continue to do this based on your feedback. Making games is a complex process, and sometimes while striving for quality, unexpected developments issues can arise and impact our release schedule. It's a tough decision to make when we have to postpone the release of content. However, I firmly believe in this case it was the right call to make. We appreciate the support of the community on the decision, and we are all looking forward to your comments and feedback when Bloody Ties releases in just a few weeks' time. So that kind of gives a little bit more background on it. I know that doesn't really necessarily help anybody feel better who's like massively upset about it, but their reasoning behind it is, hey, you know what, we ran into some snags. We're like, hey, this is ready. Oh, wait, nope, we found something that broke. So they're trying to fix it. So fingers crossed that it's going to be good to go when it releases in November. So this is another big one. It says, will the DLC add any Easter egg weapons like in Dying Light 1? Tymon said, yes, I hope you'll find them all. So that confirms it. We're going to be getting more Easter eggs in the Bloody Ties DLC. We don't know how many we're going to be getting. Could be a whole bunch, could be just 2 or 3, who knows. But we are definitely getting Easter eggs. Now this question on here says, can you add stats to the game, like how many kills and stuff you have overall? Tymon said it's on the list as one of the strong candidates for community update number 2. So there's a possibility when they really release community update number 2, we could actually get those stats, which would be huge. It took them forever to add the walking stat. I don't know why it did. So hopefully getting more stats, just seeing what kind of craziness you've gotten up to in the game would be amazing. Next question on here says, what about dynamic weather? Is being developed or thought about? Tymon said there are no plans to change the logic of the dynamic weather, but we will make sure that more varied weather states will appear in the game more often. So I do like that. So we're kind of get more varied. So it's not just going to be only sunny or only rainy. I'm kind of hoping that means maybe we'll get some snow sometimes, like maybe during the winter. That would be really cool, but who knows? We'll find out. So the next question on here says, when will we see more creative outfits for characters? So Tymon said that Bloody Ties has this great story about family, but it also touches on the topics of fame and vanity. That's why it also introduces a few dozen outfits and cosmetic items to the game. I hope that you'll find them, at least some of them, creative. That sounds awesome. I love that they're going to be adding a few dozen outfits. I really hope they finally add national outfits to the game. I know that's been requested for a while. We had it in Dying Light 1 like pretty much right away, so we need the national outfits as well as whatever crazy things you can think of. Next question on here says, will we ever see PvP combat in Dying Light 2 and or a tag game mode? So Tymon said priority number 1 after the release of Bloody Ties is strengthening the online aspects of the game. I don't want to say anything too early, but please be assured that we will be focusing a lot on what's happening with the interactions between players in the future. So that means that, yeah, they're basically going to be adding PvP type stuff or more things to do in co-op other than just run around, that are kind of multiplayer focused in the future after Bloody Ties. So that's what that tells me. I'm excited for that. I can't wait. Next one says, is there ever going to be cross-platform? Now, this is a massive question. Everybody's been wanting this. It says, Tymon said that it's a complex technical challenge and we will not say anything concrete about cross-platform plans until we can be sure that we can deliver them. So I like that he said that because I know that they tend to overpromise things sometimes. And we definitely don't want them to say, oh yeah, it's good, we're got cross-platform coming at a certain time, and then it doesn't happen. So I'm hoping that they can get it figured out and get it working, because that would be absolutely huge for the game. So the next question says, are you planning on making any changes to the Craftmaster so he can still be useful after buying all the upgrades? Tymon said, yes, of course, you should start seeing some changes in one of the upcoming chapters. So this is actually huge. What this tells me is that they may be adding a feature that I think 100% needs to be in the game. I've been had tons and tons of people say the same thing. Basically, the ability to change the mods on your weapons would be absolutely incredible, and they can easily do it at a Craftmaster, maybe pay them some gold or whatever to get it done, And there you go. That's all you got to do. And then also maybe being able to reroll the stats on your weapon. I'm really hoping that those two things are what he's referring to, because that would be the most amazing thing ever. And I'd be so happy about that, because right now, you know, if you're just testing out mods and you're like, oh, I don't like these, well, then you're stuck with them until you can find a better weapon, which is really unfortunate. And I hope that they add that to where you can change them out, because that would be amazing. Next one on here says, will a finisher mechanic return to the game? If so, a grab mechanic similar to Dishonored would synergize well with that feature. Are you considering this? So Tymon said that, as you probably noticed, we're adding and improving animations throughout the game. One example of it will be the amazing katana animations created by our animator. We plan to continue this trend, so further improvements such as the one you mentioned can definitely happen. So if you've noticed, since the 1.6 update, they added some really good animations for the katana. It looks amazing whenever you swing it. So hopefully we'll get some really good stuff coming up soon, but it's something that they're working on. And the last question they had on here, it says, will we get the quests for Dying Light 2 on the Techland GG website? Someone says, we are working on it and planning to add quests for Dying Light 2 to the Techland GG website. There are no dates yet to be shared. I really hope they add this soon. I know that they had it for Dying Light 1, where you can do those and get like special rewards, like weapons and stuff in the game, which is really cool. So they just need to do it for Dying Light 2. Hopefully they get added soon, but it looks like something that's kind of more on the back burner for now, but we'll wait and see. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Dying Light content, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.